Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this conference. My name is Richard Gosse. I look after exploration for Dundee Precious Metals. Dundee Precious Metals started exploring in Serbia in 2007 for copper and gold, initially through Dundee Precious Metals, then later through Avala Resources and Dunav Resources. But now, at this time, both those companies are 100% owned subsidiaries of Dundee. There we go. Okay, my presentation is divided into two parts. I have after a short overview of Dundee Precious Metals, I'll be talking about some of the good practices that the company follows. The second half of the presentation is on some of the outcomes of these good practices at our Chelopech mine, at the Krumovgrad gold project, and the Timok exploration project in Serbia. So Dundee Precious Metals, we have two operating assets, the Chelopech copper gold mine in Bulgaria and the Tsumeb custom smelter in Namibia. We are developing a gold mine at Krumovgrad in southern Bulgaria, and that's scheduled to produce its first concentrate in about a year's time. We have exploration projects in Bulgaria and Serbia, as well as Armenia and Canada, but the most advanced of these projects is in Serbia, the Timok Gold Project. Last year, Dundee Precious Metals produced 165,000 ounces of gold and about 40 million pounds of copper. With Krumovgrad starting production next year, that will add 100,000 ounces of gold and will be decreasing our costs. Before I describe our good practices, I'd like to share with you the company's values, and I won't read these out loud, but it's important to understand that these values underlie the way that we do business, and this includes the good practices that we follow. The good practices, I've got 4 slides on these. It's an overview of the good international practices followed by Dundee, and I've included links for those who are interested in the subject. As I understand, these presentations will be available later, and you can follow up. Okay, firstly, there are good practices that are set out in the company's policies, and all of these policies can be found on our website. Some of these policies are written to comply with legislation, while others are tied to international practices, codes, and standards that are set out by other organizations. Most important are those of the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. And our relationship with EBRD goes back to 2010, and it supports the company's drive to do business in a sustainable and responsible manner. So our practices and policies relating to social responsibility are closely aligned with those of the bank, and we strive to meet their 10 performance requirements that are based on good international practices relating to sustainable development. So on sustainability reporting, Dundee Precious Metals was the first mining company in the world to report under the Global Reporting Initiative G4 protocol. It's an international standards organization based in the Netherlands. And this link, the first link on that slide, will take you to our 2016 sustainability report. Other good practices for mining and social responsibility, many of which are incorporated into our policies and practices, are defined by the EU and the Canadian government. And on the subject of the EU and Canada, under the recently signed trade agreement, CETA, a body called the Mineral Investment Facility was established to improve cooperation in the mining sector. And Dundee Precious Metals is serving as an industry representative on the steering committee. So we do use ISO standards internally, such as in our integrated management system, which covers health, safety, and the environment. The Canadian government has established a body similar to EITI through the Extractive Sector Transparency Measures Act. And as a Canadian company, it's our legal requirement to report all payments to all the governments in the countries where we operate. That link that you see there will take you to our 2016 report. So Dundee is a member of the EITI, the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, However, Canada, Bulgaria, Namibia, and Serbia are not signatories. So our good practices for waste management come from the Canadian Dam Association and the Mining Association of Canada. And Dundee does not use cyanide at our operations, but we are a signatory to the International Cyanide Management Code. So on to exploration. We follow the standards for resources and reserves using the Canadian Institute of Mining's definitions that were adopted under the Canadian National Instrument 43101. Being a Canadian company, this is a legal requirement. CIM has also published best practices for exploration. On top of this, Dundee Precious Metals has a reference manual that describes and explains our preferred exploration methods and procedures to our geoscientists. Lastly, on labs, we have a mine lab at Chelopech that is ISO 9001 accredited. We also run a lab here in Bor for all of our exploration samples, including those from Bulgaria, Armenia, and even Canada. Both are independently managed by SGS, and all SGS's standard methods and procedures are implemented at both labs. Okay. Of course, talking about good practices is one thing, but using and following good practices requires good people and leadership from the mine face to the CEO. So the second half of my presentation is on some of the outcomes of using these practices at Dundee Precious Metals. Firstly, at our Chelopech mine in Bulgaria, this is an underground mine that produces a high arsenic copper-gold concentrate. It employs 900 people, and they're all Bulgarians. The mine opened in 1954, and Dundee acquired the mine in 2003. This is for the geologists and miners in the room. Chelopech is a high sulfidation epithermal deposit like Chekarupeki, and it is hosted by breccia pipes. Since the mine opened, it has produced 3.5 million ounces of gold. The underground crusher is located on the lower left, about 500 meters from surface, and conveyors carry that crushed ore to surface in less than an hour. Under Dundee Precious Metals, the mine has expanded capacity from 500,000 tons a year to 1 million to 2.2 million tons last year. As a result of the good practices, Chelopech is a modern, clean, safe, well-managed mine with real-time operations using underground wireless technology. Our technical services team have been very successful at replacing reserves. During the last 10 years, the group has maintained reserves sufficient for a 10-year life of mine, even as production increased. Recently, the technical services team have discovered a new high-grade copper-gold zone very close to existing underground workings. Also, a geological model has been proposed, which has been used to find a 1.2 kilometer long corridor of breccia pipes that has potential to host new deposits. The safety culture at Chelopech is a result of strong leadership and good practices. The 3-year lost time injury frequency rate averages 0.38, and last year it was 0.1. Dundee engages with local communities and has developed strong relationships with them through our community investment policy. Regarding the environment, there have been significant improvements made since 2004, reducing mine waste through backfill and reducing water and energy uses using new technologies. So on to Krumevgrad. This is a shot of the earthworks in August. The deposit is in the upper left on that hillside where it was discovered in about the year 2000, low sulfidation epithermal deposit. The crusher is going to be on the hill in the foreground on the left side, and the grinding and flotation is on the right. And the integrated mine waste facility is in the two valleys on the right. So Krumevgrad is the first new greenfield mine in Bulgaria in 40 years. It'll have an 8-year mine life and employ about 240 people. At 800,000 ounces per year, at 800,000 ounces, it's not a large deposit, but it has an average grade of 4 grams per ton and a low stripping ratio. So with the support of the government and the local community, it's going to be a good mine. The project's team has not had a lost time injury since 2014. The mine is designed in line with EBRD's environmental and social policy to minimize community health risks and environmental impact. The final design incorporates changes based on concerns raised by the community, such as the reduced footprint. Extensive consultations with the municipality of Krumovgrad led to the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding that sets forth the company's plans for investment in the community. The preference is to hire local people and procure services and supplies locally. There's funding to develop and build small and medium enterprises and local infrastructure. The site is located in the Natura 2000 area, which required meeting more stringent environmental standards. Air, water, biodiversity, vibrations, and dust are all monitored. And real-time dust readings are available online. The discharged water will be of drinking water quality. Lastly, the Timok Gold Project here in Serbia. It was discovered in 2008 by our subsidiary of Vala Resources. Over 250,000 meters has been drilled, and that defines a pit-constrained indicated mineral resource of 1.7 million ounces of gold. And a preliminary economic assessment was completed in 2014. The project is located 10 kilometers east of Zagubica and 25 kilometers northwest of Bor. The two main deposits, Bigger Hill and Korkin, are 2 kilometers apart, and the new discovery, Korkin West, is located in between them. Our exploration group in Serbia is very professional, motivated, and dedicated to the success of this project. The last lost time injury at Timok project was in 2011. The discovery of Timok was significant not only because of its size, but because the sediment-hosted style of mineralization was new for this region. At its peak, there were 250 people employed by Avala, 120 from Zagubica. Avala has supported various community projects in both Zagubica and Bor over the years, and the company maintains an information center in Zagubica. Dundee Precious Metals sees a potential to increase the mineable resource and improve the economics of the project, and we look forward to advancing this project with the local communities and the government. I'll finish with this slide that lists some of the awards that Dundee Precious Metals has recently received. Also, if you're interested, the link at the bottom is to an article describing Dundee Precious Metals' success at Krumovgrad. Whoops. Thank you. And if you have any questions that I'm unable to answer today, then you can contact me at this email address.
Thank you, Richard. I must say that we are at our faculty especially grateful to Dundee Precious Metals and their daughter companies in Serbia. They are supporting our fieldwork with students, I believe, since 2010. So thank you again. Okay. I will be the last speaker in this panel, so I will not introduce myself. I will just go.